Okay, here we go. Hopefully this is working just fine. It looks like it is. This is my Module 5, Assignment 4. My name is John Biddle, and here we go. Okay, what I have done is, okay, so Part 1, Effective Leadership Makes Schools Truly Inclusive. This is the first piece of work that I found. I found two different articles. Both of them were found on ERIC, and that's where I got them. So, effective leadership makes schools truly inclusive. Um, extensive legislation was done to make this a better thing. But what happened was, what they forgot to do is work on improving outcomes. So over the past 25 years, percentages of schools with disabilities in the classrooms, uh, back in 1990 there was only 34% of students with disabilities actually in the classroom. As of 2011, as you can see, there's 61% of students that are actually taking and doing their classwork with normal students in the classroom. Excuse me. Um, Before the No Child Left Behind in 2001, most states didn't really have any kind of accountability for for the outcomes with the disabled children. Uh, More inclusion than efficacy. So what they were doing was, just including the kids in the class and giving them a passing grade, and maybe the assessments weren't the same compared to the other students. So, they felt they were doing their job in that respect. Pressure on the schools to improve achievement outcomes. Researchers started looking for schools, and of course, one of the this assignment that I'm doing here is part of the research that has been done to show this. Um, what they've shown is that it needed to be effective, inclusive, and so they were looking for schools that were effective in doing this inclusive part, and then what made them successful. What this case study suggested was the three must-haves. Was the first one was strong, active principal leadership to ensure that teachers share core values and an instructional commitment to develop an effective inclusive school. So what they were doing, and then data systems, let me just say this before I move on, and then of course a data system that monitored student progress, and then a school-based system of learner-centered professional development to improve instruction. So school-based. So I'll get to all three of these. Okay, the first one is that they were realizing that they needed principals needed to be active. Just like Cozies and Posner were stating and modeled the way, this is what the principals needed to do. They needed to model the way of this process. And then the next thing they realized was strong core values related to inclusion and student achievement. The schools that were studied in this, that's what they had noticed, was the core values were related to the inclusion of student and student achievement. And this also goes back to Cozy's and Posner Inspiring Shared Vision. This is what the principals were doing in these schools. They were inspiring the faculty and teachers to this vision that they had about including the students in the classroom and how they were going to make it work. And it would also, hopefully they were looking to increase student achievement in that realm. They were also clear about their school's fundamental mission. Some of my notes. Okay, and then the inclusion of non-negotiable was grounded in civil rights. So what they were doing was they were grounding their inclusion process in the civil rights of the students for them to have a good education. And then sorry, I think I'm getting over a cold. Developing a trusting, supportive relationship with the teachers. The way these principals were talking about in the study is that, you know, they felt that if you wanted to get trust, you had to give trust. Provide opportunities for teacher leadership. This was one way that one of the schools was being supportive. Was creating teacher leadership in certain areas. They also hired teachers and para-educators that were a good fit for the school. This was another way to create that supportive relationship. Then I went on to have these data systems, the data system that monitored student progress. In the typical data systems, it was, you know, they're statewide high stakes tests, you know, like the MAP and others, you know, statewide tests that everybody's measured by. What these schools did was they changed it. They made school-based data systems. That were directly related to curriculum. The data systems that were directly related to curriculum. Examples of, you know, they created unit tests, response to intervention progress monitoring measures, observations, screen test, and then a district or state administered diagnostic test, which they've realized what they needed to do was take these several times per year so that they could continually evaluate the students to see if they were needed to change how they were doing business in the classroom. School-based system of learning, learner-centered professional development. This was another thing that they realized what they needed to do in inclusive leadership. What they found was 70% of the general education teachers felt that they were not adequately prepared to handle the diversity of the classroom with students with disabilities. Internal accountability systems is important. The schools in the case study developed their own professional development. So what they did is they realized that for them to change how they were going to do business in the classroom with working with all the students that they did is they would realize what needed to be, what the training needed to be done on, and then they basically created the training to handle that. So that was another way that they did it differently than just going to your normal cookie cutter professional development that the whole school goes to and it's generic. So what they did is they specialized it for their school. Principals in effective inclusive schools believed in collaborative problem solving, creating collaborative problem solving teams that were specific to whatever area that they needed it to be. And then different study groups, book studies, so they would study the different curriculum books and stuff that they were using to see if it was being effective in their school. So there was a lot of stuff that they were being very individualized on to do this. Principles and a model of inclusive leadership, a knowledge framework for inclusive leadership. Okay, this was the second article that I came up with, and yeah, this person was quite extensive in his knowledge of this stuff. But what he gave us was the Aristotelian term for praxis, and I'm going to read it. He said the praxis is a specific form of knowledge that reflects a practical theory, the representation of this theory, and the shaping of practitioner's craft to produce effective teaching and learning as a purpose and an outcome. So, put simply, the action, formation, and product in a synthesis of professional learning and knowledge is praxis. In this respect, praxis is both process and knowledge, and a combination of theory and practice. So that was what he was giving. So more complexity unfolds as we think about what we want to achieve, and we alter the way we might achieve it. So that's, it's like thinking outside the box in a way. And then there is no easy solution or template, even if it's claimed to be conveniently called best practices. There's, every situation is different, so there really isn't a best practices in most cases. Action principles in his inclusive leadership was integrative. Integrative is a leadership facilitating the collection, synthesis, and use of knowledge. And then he's got over here on the circle. Sorry, that in the circle it's supposed to be relational. I didn't realize that my word moved on me before I saved it. It's relational. Relational principle is the leadership of interacting as mediation between structure and agency. And then you got functional, which is the process of leadership requires continuous learning, adaptation, instrumental application of what they're doing. Okay, so the challenges that I saw was, creating your own data. That's going to take some time. Determining the specific expertise needed by teachers, and then opportunities for the learner. Enabling others to act would be developing good relationships with the